Hello there and welcome to video 9 of the Quick Start training video series. In this video, we're going to show you how to use the dialer and review your dashboard results. So you'll be able to see all of calls and your stats from the dialer campaign. Now, if you are skipping to the end of all of the videos, you've decided you wanted to watch this first, it's very important that you go back and you go through each individual step first before you watch this video, because you won't be able to use the dialer until you go through all of those other videos and complete those steps. Now, I'm here inside of the dialer campaign list, so you can see the campaign that we just created in the last video. Now, one thing I want to do first before we start the dialer up is I want to show you what each of these things represent here inside of this view. So you've got the name, and here you can see the last login that was made on that campaign. So if you mouse over it, it'll show you the last time that that campaign was logged into. You click on this, it's going to give you a detailed view of the last logins from other users as well. So it'll show you more history or more of a view there. This is the phone number for that campaign that you're dialing from. So this is the default fallback number. As you, if you'd like to, you do have the ability to use the same number for multiple campaigns. If you mouse over the group, this will show you which groups are connected to that campaign that you're dialing from, who created the campaign. If you'd like to assign that to somebody else, you can. Once it's been created, just click on their name and accept that. The dialer mode. Now keep in mind, if you mouse over this, you'll see that that mode cannot be changed. So in order to create a campaign with a different mode, you can duplicate the campaign when you go into the new campaign settings. We'll go into that more in a future video, but there is an option to duplicate the campaign so you can kind of keep the same settings and just move forward. Now here is the average attempts. This is looking at the day, week, month, and 3-month period. The total number of leads, how many calls have been placed on those leads, how many of the leads have not been called. If you wanted to see which leads had not been called, if you click on this, it'll show you the lead name and where they're located. And then any leads that have been marked into a status, which is no recall status. Now this here is block calls. Now block calls is something specific to Florida. We automatically, by default, block calls to Florida unless you come in and accept this further disclaimer. So you'll need to come in and accept that disclaimer to be able to make calls. And you'll notice this is blue and these are red. The reason why this one's red is because it hasn't been accepted yet. So once you've accepted that, that'll turn blue, and that way any leads that you get coming in from Florida will automatically be ready to dial. Next is block states. So if you have specific states that you don't want to dial, you can select that state and it'll automatically block any leads with the area code in that state. And then finally is invalid leads. This shows you whatever leads that you have that you can't dial because the number is invalid. Now the next thing you'll see here is reset. This is something that allows you to go and reset all of your leads to 0, reset the cycle and the dial attempts, reset your call logs, reset your call disposition. So if you wanted to go back to 0, you could do that. This is going to show you once you've made some calls inside your campaign, it's going to show you a little breakdown of your dispositions, which leads have hit what specific status. This is a list of activities that have happened. So when your leads recycle, you'll be able to see that that log of activity. Here is where you can select custom fields that you want to dial. This will allow you to set call dispositions that are available in the campaign. Here you can delete the campaign, you can edit the campaign, and then finally, this is the speed dial list for call transfers. So in order to do a live warm transfer, you first need to add the number to the transfer list. So you'll just do that by clicking add new, putting the name of the party that you would be transferring to. If that's like an office line or something, you can name it that as well. The phone number that you'll be transferring to, and then just save it, and it'll show up in the list. So when you're inside of the dialer, you'll have the ability to select from that number to transfer. We're going to do a warm transfer handoff inside of our video here today. So I'm going to go ahead and start the campaign. So in order to start the campaign, you'll see that I've already selected all the time zones that I want to dial. You can just dial one time zone if you'd like. The couple things to keep in mind of what you see here on this screen. One is next to the time zone, there's a number. This is the number of leads that are in that time zone. And then this here is the time where you're dialing. You'll notice some are green and some are red. So after 5 o'clock, it turns red. Just to give you some kind of heads up, it's something you should probably watch out for. Now, go ahead and click Start Dialing. Oh, I do have the auto dial on, so it's automatically going to dial the lead as soon as it loads. Now, you can stop that dial. As you saw, I just went ahead and clicked Stop, and I clicked the hang up, and it automatically stopped the dial, and it's not calling that lead. Now, here in the center, you're going to see all of the contact information. On the right, you have your call statuses. What happens is when you mark the call status, it automatically is going to go to the next lead, as well as if you've set up automations to send a text or an email on call status, as we discussed earlier, it'll send that message as well. It'll send out that email and it'll send out that message. So those things all happen automatically on a call disposition. On the left-hand side, you've got all of your notes from your past calls. So if you ever want to see what happened on the last call, you'll be able to see that. Up here, you have some icons for setting a task, for changing your pipeline statuses, for booking an appointment, and for other things like skipping to the next lead. We'll go over these in a future video and in an advanced video settings. You can also just click on these to test them out. Up here on the top left, you've got the ability to send a text or an email. You can not just send a text, but you can also schedule the text as the next call. So once you've sent a text to a lead, if you wanted to schedule it to be popped up next, then you can do that. Now in this case, I'm already in that lead, so there's no need to do that. But if I was retrieving a conversation from this area and I wanted to call this lead next, then I could send the text to them and then schedule that as the next call to have it pull up next after I disposition the lead. I can send an email, a ringless voicemail. Here I have the ability to see the weather and the location where I'm calling if I have the address there. It's not going to pull up anything if you don't have the city, state, and zip or an address. The call handling policy and script that you've assigned to the campaign will show up here. And so if you click on that, this area here will turn into the script. This is the duration of time that you've been working inside of that call, or you've been live inside of that call. This is your call status, which right now is ended. Here is any callbacks that you've scheduled. So if you click on this, it'll show you a list of all of the callbacks if you have any scheduled already. And in order to schedule a callback, you just click on this disposition here where you have the ability to set the date and the time that you want that to pop back up. So currently it's, if I set the callback for today, let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and set move to next lead and click add callback. It should go to the next lead for you automatically. So that's how you schedule a lead and go to the next lead. Now, as you noticed, when I clicked on the call disposition, it did go to the next lead automatically. And so just be prepared before you select that. Make sure you've added your notes or done anything inside of the record that you want to do before you go to the next lead. Now, up here in the top right-hand side of, one more thing I want to mention about the callbacks. When a callback pops up, it does actually, this bar will turn red. And it does that so that way you know that you are in a callback and it's not just like a normal lead. So that is something to keep in mind, that if you see the bar turn red, this is a callback, and you'll be able to know that you probably want to treat that call a little differently than a lead that you haven't actually reached yet. Now over here on the right, besides the hang up or start call option here, you'll notice that if you mouse over this voicemail icon, you'll see the voicemail that you had set up previously in one of the other videos where we talked about the pre-recorded voicemail. And so as many voicemails that you have set up will show up here in the drop-down when you mouse over. So if you have 2 or 3 different types of messages, when you get a voicemail, all you have to do is select that voicemail and it'll automatically play that voicemail to that recording, to that voicemail box, and you'll be able to move on to the next lead. Keep in mind, you want to wait until the beep before you actually click on this. So if you get a voicemail, just wait until the beep and then click this, and then it'll allow you to move on to the next lead, and that voicemail will be delivered for you. Now, if you receive a call where you need to press a digit, so for example, you receive an IVR and it says press 1 or press 2 for support, you can click on this dial pad and you'll have the ability to select those prompts here. Now, for the call transfer, we're going to go ahead and set up a call real quick. So let me go ahead and dial a number and we'll set up a call.
Hi, this is Mark. Please hold while I transfer you to the next available agent.
All right, so I'm receiving a call here from myself. I'm going to go ahead and answer that. Okay, so now that that call is answered, I'm on that call live. Now let's say that I want to transfer that caller to another line. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, we've already set up the transfer list here, so I have the ability to take Mark Sample and transfer him to this other line, which so happens to be already set up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select that number, and what's going to happen when I dial this is, first I can introduce that I have a lead for them, or I have somebody I'm going to transfer over, so I would let that person know when they answer the phone I'm going to transfer somebody over, and then make sure they're ready, and then once I know they're ready, then I can complete the transfer. So I'm going to go ahead and start the call. Okay, so now I'm getting that call. When I answer, you'll be able to hear that. Let me mute this. Okay, so now I'm connected. This agent, or this Mark Sample, this lead is on hold, and I'm speaking on the other line to this person here. And so when I'm ready, I can patch the call through and then hang up. You don't want to hang up until you've patched the call through, because if you hang up, then it's going to disconnect. It's going to disconnect everybody. Okay, but while we're on hold, this call right here that I called is on hold. So I'll just let you know what he hears. So that the lead, Mark Sample, is hearing that hold music while you are having a conversation with the lead, or sorry, with the person you're transferring to. Now, once you're ready, you can go ahead and click the patch. Now, all three are together in one call. So this number that I called, Mark Sample, he's connected with this number here and myself, and I'm introducing them, and I'm now ready to leave the call. Then all I have to do is click leave call, and the this call and the other number that I called transfer to, which happens to be my cell phone, are now connected, and that's it. So that transfer is complete, and then I can disposition the lead and move on to the next call. So we've completed the dialer overview. Now I want to show you how to look at some of your stats. One thing I want to mention first, actually, let me go back into the dialer. You will notice that you have stats up here. This is showing you all of the daily stats that you have. So any of the dispositions that you set, how many of them were set. So you can see those there, and how many calls that you've made, your call duration, all that is up here in that view. But if you go over to the dashboard, you can see even more details. So you can see listed by user. So if you have multiple users inside the campaign or inside your system, you'll be able to see them each listed underneath. So up here on the top, you'll see how many people are logged in, how many calls, how many of them are in calls, how many are ringing, waiting for somebody to answer, how many of your agents are inactive, how many calls for the day, how many inbound calls, how many prospects which were set up. Now, prospect is something that you set inside the call disposition, which we covered that in a previous video. What's really handy about this is that when you do have that option selected, it's easy for you to see which leads were marked as a prospect, as well as listen to the call recording if you have that option turned on. Now down here, again, you see the user, any emails and text messages that they sent for the day, how many calls they made, how many of their calls were answered, their answer rate, their talk time, their average call length, when they made their first and last call. The average call length, is the number is taking the total number of calls and dividing them by the talk time. So you'll see like the average call length, when they made their first call, when they made their last call, the gap time in between calls, again, prospects that were generated. Now, if you want to change the settings that you see or the columns that you see, if you click on this gear, it allows you to turn on and turn off different things that you would want to see. So that is how you view the dashboard. That concludes this video on the dialer. So now at this moment, you are ready to start making calls. Congratulations, you did it. We'll see you in the advanced videos next. Once you've made some calls, I know you probably want to go in and make some changes and learn some of the advanced settings for lead management. So I am looking forward to see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.